What's up, guys? Welcome to the Lioneye podcast, episode 5. It's been 5 weeks. It's been good. It's been fun. And it's only been 10 days, though, since Atlas launched.
Yeah.
And we've been having a lot of fun with that. We'll be talking about that today. We'll talk about our impressions about the whole Essence League, what we like, what we don't like. And with me, as always, I have my 2 co-hosts with me here. Say hello, bros.
Hello, bros.
Yeah.
We're not muted. +1.
Yeah.
And besides that, we're also going to have a very first Build of the Week segment this time. And we're hoping that you guys will be able to use that as some kind of inspiration, or maybe even play that specific build for yourself. So let's get right into it. What we're going to talk about first is our experiences here in Hedging. You want to talk a bit about how it feels to be swinging melee weapons against some of the new bosses.
Yeah, it feels good. As you guys know, there were a lot of numerical changes to certain melee skills to bring it more in line with the power of EQ, and EQ got nerfed, or EQ stands for Earthquake, sorry about that. But I've been playing a Leap Sweeper. I've got a different spin on it this time. I'm testing out different single target options, and this is the first time I've actually played with a single target Ancestral Protector Totem, and it's quite good. I mean,
you feel protected.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's doing the trick. It's giving me so much attack speed that I can leap around, like a grasshopper. It's
Confidence.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely dodging danger. The sweep buff is pretty amazing. I'm definitely feeling very, very powerful, and I'm excited to, one day get the Brass Dome chest. I haven't seen it once on PoE Trade, but I'm crossing my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been tinkering around on Standard with my old Hardcore Prophecy Lacerator, and as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, that's me testing out each Guardian, and I'm slowly falling in love with these fights and the different design and the different tech that they're able to use. It's just really cool. But one thing that's worth mentioning is that they have a lot of immunities. Each one has their own unique immunity. Like we have the Phoenix, since it's fire, it's immune to Ignite. We have the Chimera. He's immune to bleed and poison, which is like one of the specialties of my build. That's why it took so long to take down the Chimera. Then we have the Minotaur. He's immune to bleed, and he has Unwavering. The Hydra is immune to poison, because I guess that makes sense because he's a snake type serpent or whatever.
Because it's a Hydra.
Yeah. But they're all immune to chill and freeze. How do you guys feel about these bosses having these immunities as far as like a design?
Well,
ahead,
the
PT.
freeze, because freeze is based off the total life of a mob, and these mobs have ridiculously large life pools compared to what we've seen before. That's pretty fair looking at what your gear was and how long it takes you to kill them, watching other people go through it. I haven't personally done the fights yet. The freeze immunity, I don't think really matters. But the chill immunity, that's definitely interesting. I'm more concerned about the poison and bleed immunity, because it would be like a boss being CI. It just fucks up your build. They've been against immunities before with a couple of exceptions. You've got Argus for... Apparently Argus needs to be immune to a whole bunch of stuff at Ziri. It feels like a little bit of a design cheat, though, that just punishes people for not a good reason. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean...
yeah.
I mean, just to piggyback off of that real quick, we're talking about the freeze and the chill, but, a cold crit caster is going to rely on those things because that's part of his defense. And when his defense doesn't work, what is he going to do,
But isn't it maybe the intention that you then create different builds to tackle each boss?
Right. I guess it does incentivize you to make multiple characters that specialize in the boss.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot of work. We're talking like endgame quality gear, getting up to that level.
There was a quick question, sorry, that Atziri is like shock immune, but you can apply shock to ground and shocker. Are these mobs immune to chilled ground effects like you're using the Arctic Breath? Yeah. Okay, so they're immune to the ground effects as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I was curious, Hedgie, now that you've been testing this out, we talked a bit about it for the Hydra fight. We did some predictions and all that stuff. What for with these fights here? Is there any particular archetype that would just do really well against these? All of them.
I haven't really pinpointed. That's what I'm kind of looking for. I'm looking for a very reasonable, price and a very effective one that can do all four. Now, while I can do all four Guardians deathless on that current character, I struggled a lot with the Shaper, mainly in phase 2, just meeting the DPS requirements. I do feel like a lot of the fights seem fair, but I don't like the fact that chill does not work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going to alienate a lot of cold crit casters or anything that does cold damage and relies on a slow to get them,
Yeah.
And people already didn't like Arctic armor enough. That's just like, well, fuck.
Yet another reason, right? So when you're saying you're falling slowly in love with these fights, and they are lots of fun.
Yeah.
But what makes them more interesting than the Uber Isaro or Atziri, for instance?
Okay, so the fight that you're watching right now, that's the Chimera, and you see these smoke clouds, and what you have to do is essentially run around and expose him. Like he will continually flicker until you finally find him. So you just go around either using whirling blades or just running through it, and you get out of that phase as fast as possible. So it puts a lot of pressure on you, and he does hit really hard, right? You can't leech off of anything. You can't Enduring Cry. There's just no entity that you could farm, life regen or whatever. Okay. And then he has that another phase where he does this like AoE ring, and if you stand in that ring, he does some like crazy multi-hit combo, which is really cool. And that is pretty unique to this fight.
How does that work? Can you explain that?
So he drops that red ring. You'll eventually see it on the screen. And when he drops that red ring, if you're standing on it, he just goes like, killer instinct combo. And you can survive it if you have good mitigation and the right defense. But it's probably going to be an instant death for anybody that's not, fizz damage oriented, And then we have another mechanic was that he swarms you and he makes you feel like you're fighting in the gauntlet, of the Colosseum. Mm-hmm. Instead of the ads, funneling in, little by little, you get swarmed, and they don't care if you're not done with the first wave. So it's easy to get overwhelmed, right? Yeah, you're used to that one Duresto progression where you go through the pits, right? And then once you're done killing the last mob, then you get the next wave. This is not like that. This is like, okay, it's a set time, and you're just gonna deal with it. It kind of reminds me of hardcore raiding in WoW. Where just like the gates open and you're just like, what do I do with all these ads? Right? Nice. You're just like, the developers are just like, deal with it. Find some way to deal with it. So I really like that fight or that mechanic behind the Chimera. And there are different mob types that come down and makes it a bit more interesting with a mini boss.
How do you see this in relation to when you have a party going on here? Would that make it even more fun, or is it more? What do you think?
A party, in this particular fight could take some of the flavor away. Yeah. Especially if you have a guardian that just make you super tanky, and when he fixates on a different target, then it's going to be a lot easier. As a solo fight, the Chimera is very, very fun. I could see a party member who's able to carry their weight definitely making this way, way easier.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just one last question here. You said you felt that sweep was strong right now. Are you really feeling that damage buff?
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm like farming the Uber Lab. Well, I don't know if it's because of the combination of the buff to sweep and the fact that I'm using Ancestral Protector, which then buffs my sweep again. Yeah, because that's a combo I haven't really done. I usually go with like a Conch Effect Cyclone just because it's mobile. Mm-hmm. When I have something that's stationary that locks me in place with multi-strike. I'm trying something different. Obviously the downside is I find the totem is dying a lot to like degen stuff, like those vortexes that we see like more often than not. That seems to be crushing it. So it can be kind of clunky at times, and I'm not getting any leech off of it. So definitely spending more time AoEing. But what I can tell from the Minotaur fight and some of the Shaper type mechanics is that GGG is willing to deal with stress on the environment. And what I mean by that is they use these void zone type mechanics, places that you're not supposed to stand, and at the same time you have to strategically place. Otherwise, you could end up running out of room, and then the fight just becomes really, really crazy. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, this is evident in the Minotaur fight. So that's not something I'm used to in this ARPG. We haven't really had that, unless you guys can think of something else.
I'm really looking forward to doing these myself. I'll start doing them tomorrow, I think. I finally got my character to where I wanted. But before we talk a bit about that, PT, how's your solo self-found adventure been in Essence? You're playing War Chiefs, right?
Yeah, I'm technically melee. It has a tag.
Technically, yeah.
I don't know if Hedgie would really agree with that comment, but,
You use a melee weapon, I mean, I'll give you
disgrace to all melee characters.
Really, it's Shockwave Totem with a mace.
Yeah.
But, we're going through it. The Atlas takes a decent amount of time to actually progress through because I can't just buy up the proper tiers. I can't get, RNG on the +2. Xana, for the first few days, or actually the first 5 days, wasn't able to essentially drop bonus maps. That was recently fixed. So the progression of the Atlas as Solo Self-Found is definitely slower than my leveling and gear progression. So I'm doing tier 8s currently, and I have almost 7,000 life Solo Self-Found, and I'm like, probably should be doing harder stuff, but, it'll drop eventually.
Yeah. It doesn't feel too good to be gated by RNG sometimes.
Yeah, and the Atlas for Solo Self-Found is making it feel like there's the RNG gating on top of the regular RNG gating. So, I'm getting stuck doing things that it's like, yep.
I was stuck for a very long time in the Atlas, just doing tier 4, tier 5 maps until I actually started to buy the next in line upgrades for the Atlas. Once I did that, unlocked maybe 5 maps doing it like that. And you can buy those for cheap, right? Tier 5 or 6 maps. That made a significant difference. And I was able to progress further. And it was kind of cool because there were people in my chat who would come to me and say, hey, do you want to trade this tropical island for this, or trade this map for that? Because obviously they had a need to unlock certain maps that I had, and I could use theirs. So it was fun actually trading a map for a map instead of a map for a Chaos Orb or something like that. I enjoyed that. But yeah.
So PT, I saw one of your build videos, and you talked about that you were thinking about dropping blood magic. Has that happened yet?
No, I haven't switched out of blood magic yet. Lifting, you do need to talk a little bit quiet if you didn't catch that. I originally decided to do blood magic on a melee build because when we were advertised the sextant modifications, the sextants seemed like they were going to add a lot of random properties, and then we'd get no regen, huge regen penalties, and blood magic would probably appear more often. I wanted to spend as little currency crafting maps as possible, so I was like, okay, we'll pick up blood magic, get that bonus. Yes, it's going to be a downgrade, but then we don't have to worry about sextants. However, sextants drop pretty much fuck all.
Yes.
So I feel that I expected sextants to be doing much more, and without that, I'm feeling that blood magic is not worth it. I'm currently still using it because it's the nice extra life pool while I'm in the lower tiers. But I feel that once I get to the red tiers, once we're alching the red tiers, our damage is going to be penalized enough that we're going to have to boost our damage with an aura.
But right now, how is your character feeling without the auras? Running it with blood magic, is it sufficient?
It's sufficient, but I am running tier 7s with a 473 Fizz DPS 2-hand mace. So
holy shit!
Yeah,
you have a better mace than I do, and you're so bound.
Well, certain people know how to craft a weapon.
I definitely tried.
No, I literally just alched a mace, and it was like, hey, there's a 470, and it's a coronal maul too, so it's not even a
somehow,
core.
some way, you managed to siphon the RNG for self-found. I'm sure there's a lot of self-found players that look up to your your RNG.
Yeah, and you already have stream RNG, man, so...
Well, I got, as a Juggernaut, an Astral Plate that I identified off the ground that was 1.5 thousand armor, 90 life, 1 resist, open resist craft, and I 5-linked it in, like, 40 fuse. So I was like, yay, start of the league items. Good.
I 6-linked my Beast for Shoal yesterday in 16 fuses.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I rarely link my own stuff. I just buy it, but that felt pretty good.
And how do you feel, since you're trying out Softcore this time, having no concern that you're going to just instantly lose that 6-link and you're fucked?
It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good, I gotta say. And I was afraid I would be bored in Softcore. Typically, I would be. I enjoy the replayability of hardcore. Basically, when you die, you create a new character, or you progress slower, so you feel like you get to know your character a bit better. But in this expansion, it's just been such a relief to be able to go into a map and not necessarily skip out on the boss if I didn't feel comfortable with it, or risking my character and then having to start over. It is so nice in this league here to actually go in and go up against these bosses and just try it out, balls to the wall. I really enjoy that. Such a cool aspect.
I'm so glad you said that, because I feel the same way. Whenever I experience softcore leagues, I play differently. I make different decisions, and I do way riskier things. I mean, maybe to test my ego, but exactly. It's just challenging yourself that you would be foolish to do in hardcore. It's a whole nother experience, and I don't know why people hate on it so much.
You definitely
memes. Think about the memes.
Exactly.
That's why. Really, it's definitely just a vocal group, because what was it last time we were given statistics? 70% of players play in this standard temp league. Yeah. So, I know, people can't really be hating on it that hard now, can they?
I definitely think if one is contemplating trying out Softcore again, I would assume most people have tried it, then this is definitely the league for it. You get to experience so much of the game.
And you won't be as afraid as Shaper just insta-fucking you in a moment.
Exactly. And it seems like he is insta-fucking a lot of players right now. Yeah, did you try that yet, Hedgie?
The Shaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried him 3 times, and I've learned a lot. I actually found something interesting the other day, is that I was playing in a certain way that was actually hurting me. When you actually run up to the boss, like you're essentially name locking it, he doesn't do the yellow orbs. And I was playing in such a way that I was always anticipating the yellow orbs, so I was stutter stepping a lot, losing a lot of uptime on my DPS. But the fight is next level. The Guardians, on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as like difficulty, I feel like they're a 6, and the Shaper is definitely a 10. I don't know if it's so much a gear check, but there's so much shit going on, and so much bad shit can happen with the frost orbs that follow you that drop vortex. It's just insane. But I wanted to ask you guys, what were your leveling experiences with the Essence League? Did it meet your expectation? I guess it would be very valuable from PT, because he played ED Contagion, and now he's transitioning into a totem build. Like, how did these essences affect your experience leveling up?
Well, as melee, there was the 2 main things that I think a lot of people used was crafting a resist on the belt. That ended up being a very useful one for picking just white belts up, throwing a resist, hoping that it gets a second resist roll or a life roll. Keeping in mind, when you're talking day 1, you didn't have the masters leveled for a good craft, so realistically, you just kind of throw some junk ones, hope the roll gets fine. Then Contempt is the flat fizz. Now, at the start, when there was only like the 4 essences that could spawn, you would get Contempt, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll throw it on a weapon, and by the time you unlocked up to the 16 essences, you're just like, well, I got a Contempt in 20 levels, and it was a muttering. Cool. Well, that's kind of a balls. So I was stuck with a real shitty weapon for a long time. Like, sure, I managed to get the nice 470 now, but before the 470, I was using a 313 two-handed mace at level like 82. And I'm like, yeah, game! It was painful.
Did you ever consider like using the elemental stuff anyways and hoping that you get a flat fizz roll and, a percent fizz?
I did like using essences as a cheap alch, knowing that you didn't care about the suffix. I definitely did that, especially, on some rings for upgrades. And I think it's underutilized in that form when I watch other people using it. But then I got to the point where it was just more valuable to transfer that into a Chaos Orb, use one of those to complete the Chaos Orb, and then rather than using an essence of a guaranteed, bricked suffix, you turn it into a Chaos recipe, then you get the Chaos Orb, which can not have that bricked suffix, so better odds that way.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, LMB?
I honestly, in these types of games, or in any type of game, I'm a hoarder. And
when you just can't use your essences,
I just can't use them.
No.
I want to save them up and I want to upgrade them and all that stuff. And I see so much potential in them, but I'm always thinking, what if I find just one more of the next or of the same tier, and then I can upgrade it to the next one. So I have a tendency to hoard them and not use too many of them. I've sold a few ones though, and I feel like as soon as you get to a certain tier, it's tier 5. If you get tier 5 essences, you can pretty much sell those for typically a few Ks, or depending on what type of essence it is. I think my favorite essence, though, I can't remember, is it Seal that adds movement speed to boots?
Yes, Zeal is the movement speed to boots, the attack speed.
Adding that to two-toned boots, and you just have such a good chance of rolling a sick pair of boots. You pretty much just hope for getting life there in most cases. And those sell for a lot of currency. I think there's some potential there. It is typically the affix that either makes or breaks it for boots, right?
Oh yeah, and that's one of the ones. Unless certain people do like using just movement skills. Yeah. But even then, it's hard to go through a map or whenever you're in town to do 100% movement skills. So Zeal is the tier 0 attack speed roll on weapons. It's tier 0 movement speed, allowing you to get 32. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic, yeah.
I also think one of the essences that's going to be used big time and get a lot of value is the one that adds cast speed on weapons. And is that Seal as well, actually?
No, that is...
Is it Woe? No, it's not Woe.
It's not Envy. It's the top tier one. There's 4 of the top tiers. It's Envy, Doubt, Misery?
Yeah, it could be Misery.
But you can put it on daggers.
Yeah, and you can put it on daggers, and that's so meta right now. You can actually get a cast speed dagger now with spell damage, with spell critical.
Attack speed.
It is, and attack speed, If you roll all 4, you're rich. It is an amazing one. I almost feel like that's a shame, because why would you want to use a wand now in many cases? They should be easier to roll, but yeah. Oh, well, you could get a unique one, but still, being able to put cast speed on is insane.
Hey, just remember, they originally were going to let us use multi-modding to remove prefixes and suffixes so that you could do the cast speed, clear your prefixes, put on the tier 1 spell damage.
I see absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem. Like, perfectly reasonable. Yeah. Like, I feel comfortable in a game when my exalts cost me, 300 chaos per exalt.
Well, at least they didn't cost like fucking 16 like previously. That is probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen in Path of Exile.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm kind of in the same boat with lifting Urbro. I tend to hoard mine. Outside of me leveling up to Merciless, I didn't really use him. I found that, like, when I found a 4-link, sure, I'll slap an essence on it. Maybe I'll get lucky. I did get lucky one time with some really sick boosts that I could have used to, like, level 95 easily. But I ripped with those. But after that, I haven't crafted anything good. They were more or less just band-aids, like, for resist or off stats.
Mm-hmm. Well, after day 1, it's still going to be better to just buy things. It was really...
And did you is Project here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't hear him, though, if he's talking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
Okay, there we go.
Just quickly,
Yeah, I heard a silence.
I just lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I've had you go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, I don't know what your opinions are, but this has been the easiest leveling experience I've had at the very start of the league. I don't feel fully twinked out, but I feel really, really powerful. I mean, having a rare in every slot, that was extremely helpful.
Definitely is. So many more affixes to run around with early on. I also think that the reason we're not seeing too much use of the essences, at least for the general population, I feel that is the impression that I get when I talk to people. It might also just be because people are feeling insecure about these yet. It takes time before you start to realize their value and if it's in general a good idea to just throw them at it, right?
I would assume most players are like you guys, in which case they would prefer the idea of hoarding, selling them, and just trying to get the good things. Like right now, I've got to wait for the 84 bases to start using my essences again, so I'm just hoarding them.
Yeah. I'm buying all of these.
Are you guys using sextants?
No.
Not really.
Are you guys selling them?
No.
So
we're hoarding them. But it's the thing. It has some awesome potential, but you don't want to waste it. You want to make sure you're doing it at the right time. There
was a good post that I wanted to bring up on Reddit by Red Bananas, who was telling us that the unique item sextant gets applied to all the unique bosses on a multi-unique boss. So if you have like a triple boss and you have that sextant, it'll drop 3 uniques. If you twin it, you'll get 6 uniques.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I thought that would be an important one until it gets probably patched.
The reason I haven't really engaged in the sextants is because I don't want to do something that I can't handle and not be able to undo it without spending, 20 cartography chisels and 5 regrets. I mean,
that's the remove the shaper recipe.
It's remove the shaper.
It's
okay.
five sextants is the 5 sextants of the type of the tier you want to remove.
How did it go with that PT, by the way, removing your
sorry, that recipe isn't even in-game. It was in the patch notes, but it's not in-game currently.
So yeah, I got a pretty angry host from PT here the other day. All of a sudden, there was just a lot of extra people in my chat saying, PT rage quit. So I saw the recipe was not in the game, and he just stopped.
So as of now, you can brick your atlas for those who care about that, which is concerning, and hopefully that gets patched soon.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that the recipe is.
I hope the cost is reasonable. Yeah,
well, they stated what the cost was going to be, but I still think the sextants need the buffed. They're still just not dropping in a way that makes you want to use them.
They have been buffed one time, though, right?
Haven't they been buffed like 3 times?
I thought they got buffed twice.
At least twice.
So between 1 and 3 is probably the right.
It's definitely 2, maybe 3.
Yeah. I'm finding them in Uberlab as well. And I might as well just take this one. So what I've been doing the past, or since Essence League, is that I've been doing the very meta thing. I've been playing Blade Vortex because of the nerf / buff, depending on how you perceive it. I've been playing it as the assassin, though, for more damage.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a few other reasons. And Blade Vortex is definitely living up to its hype. It is such an awesome skill. The rapid hitting nature of it makes Leech amazing when you're CI. The damage is insane. It's just so much fun as well, together with anything that freezes. And because of this, I've been able to run Uberlab multiple times. I've probably done at least 50 to 70 Uberlab runs and a few Atziri runs. But these Uberlab runs have been so profitable. I've been able to make between 100 to 200 Chaos Orbs easily a day. And I think what I've found that still sells the most for me is if I get a really sick enchant, I buy an item level 84 Hubris Circlet or a Bergonet helmet, and then put some profit or enchants on that, and it is so profitable if you get the right one. I got one I sold for 85 KS the other day, a white one, right?
Everyone keeps using the Eternal Burgonet, but the Royal one has more armor. Sure, it's 4, and I'm just kind of like, huh.
I use both because they're both good bases. One has a different strength requirement, but
I use the Hubris circlet right now. So many.
I mean,
people
I take what I can get. Any popular base.
So you don't buy them, or?
No, I mean, I just collect them through the Uber Lab. That's what's so amazing about it. It drops everything. You need maps, I buy them, it drops maps. Yeah. You need orbs, it drops orbs. Jewelry, divination cards, sextants, and you get tons of your tier 1 shaped map. Like I get tons of tier 6 jungle valleys.
But you mentioned to me, Hedgie, that you feel like Uber Lab have had like maybe a stealth nerf in terms of drops.
I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like the rewards aren't as strong as last league. Because last league I farmed the Uber Lab, I don't know, like 75 times. This time I'm at like 25 kills. But I feel every single time I land a GCP or the gem one, the quality isn't as high, and every single time I get like the divination cards, the quantity just seems a little lower. I don't know. I could be wrong. It might be in my head, but
I don't know. I haven't felt this is so. There's not enough data on this, but just recently, I definitely feel like within the recent days, I feel like the loot has changed. I used to get so many more gems and maps. Now I'm pretty much getting most of the boxes that just contain rares. But at the same time, as I said, I've been making between 100 and 200 KS orbs a day, so it's probably just
I mean, I'm still making great currency. I'm just not making as much. I have a question. How many map boxes have you opened from the Uber Lab? Because I've had 0.
Yeah, those definitely feel like there are less of them. I probably had 3 or 4.
3 or 4? Wow.
Yeah. And with probably 80 runs or something like that.
And you're doing like 3 key runs, or?
I'm doing 3 key runs, at a minimum. If I can, I'll do 4. But yeah, Blade Vortex is amazing for that as well. So it definitely works. And I'll probably tomorrow I'll start doing those Guardians. And my goal this league is to kill the Shaper with most of my builds if I can. But we'll see. I don't know how he's going to feel against something as specific as Blade Vortex, but as most things, Blade Vortex does pretty well against it.
So as long as you have strong flasks, but you're gonna have to invest into your gear to get the damage to do Shaper.
The only thing I need right now is pretty much a taste of hate. I have my 6 link, I have around 12,000 energy shield, and around 150,000 DPS. I just need that taste of hate.
You guys running into that fun problem with Shaper's orbs, where if you don't want to use them, you gotta shove them in your master benches.
Oh, yeah. That was my first reaction. I was like, what the hell? I can't just put this anywhere else, and it's gotta be in my inventory?
Yeah.
I was like,
you find those in the Uber Lab, by the way. You get sextants in there.
No, Shaper orbs.
No, he's talking about Shaper, the green quest items.
Yeah, I was just wanted to add that as well.
Anywhere that you can gain currency, so you can get sextants and the Arcanists as well. They count as a currency type. But yeah, the Shaper's orbs, we need the ability to. Maybe Xana has them. Like you can talk to Xana if you've completed the quest, and like other quest items, if you throw it on the ground, leave the zone, somebody has it. We need a way to obtain it because it's just annoying shoving them into your craft benches because you don't want to use them yet.
Yeah, it just seems weird. It's probably just one of those things that haven't been patched in or something like that. It doesn't make too much sense otherwise, right? I don't see any reason for it, at least.
You know what I really like about the Shaper Orb is that it gives me like a goal. I'm like, I look at my atlas, I'm like, oh, that's 2 spots away, but I want to do it now. I want to get my Shaper Orb now because I want to get these, better map layouts boosted.
What have you guys been shaping so far?
Absolutely nothing. Because if I shape if I'm running tier 7s, which means then I get the tier 2 shaper orb for another tier 7, I haven't unlocked all the tier 8s or all the tier 7s, so it increases my chance of not exploring the Atlas, meaning I can only shape once I've explored beyond the tier that I'm shaping to. So the only one that will ever be relevant will be the tier 13, the tier 14, and the tier 15. And I'm like, swing and a miss.
So yeah, for Atlas progression, it will slow you down. But for actual experience, it will be a buff, right? This is a buff. Because you will get more high-level maps overall.
No.
He's doing
just
it for the better, like for the long run.
The tier rolls first, and that means that if there's more maps in the tier, that doesn't give you more maps of the tier by having more tier 15s available. So it's not a buff at all. It just dilutes the chance of getting a specific map. So when you don't care about it, it's perfectly fine. But in the process of exploring the Atlas, it lowers the rate that you explore the Atlas.
Okay. How do you guys feel about I'm a little curious about the motivation in the game now, because it feels, for me at least, I am so much more motivated to do endgame stuff right now. I am having fun exploring the map, unlocking the map, and on that same tangent, I am not as motivated to start new characters. What do you guys feel about this? Are you more motivated to do endgame stuff right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the new bosses, new mechanics, new challenges. I mean, I've always been a challenge league player, so I love completing, all of it, whether it's 8 of 8, 40 out of 40. So that's always a goal of mine, and this challenge is definitely insane. Like, kill the shaper in hardcore. Holy shit! Like, I don't even think I can do it. Like, the more I've been practicing on standard, the more I'm just like, I'm gonna end up having to re-roll on softcore and pay somebody for the kill. But I do feel like I can kill the guardians.
How much work, by the way, did it feel like you have to do in order to get to the shaper?
I don't know. I didn't really build up the things, on standard. I just someone had the map and I was like, "Hey, can I try it?" And they're like, "Yep." Okay. So I don't have that experience, but I mean, people are getting it. I mean, Rise did the Minotaur the other day, and I'm definitely excited. Apparently, there's supposed to be a race tomorrow. Rise, Ziz, and I think maybe Farblar. I think they're all going for the Shaper kill. They're gonna try to be the first ones. So expect some rips tomorrow. It should be very exciting on Twitch. Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, PT? Do you feel more motivated with the new system?
I find it kind of does the exact same thing. I'll get maps of the tier I'm running. I'll eventually get the +1. I run the +1s, and
but do you have more fun with it? I guess that's the question.
We're talking about fun.
It's the exact same. I enjoy the new boss design. So whenever I'm doing a map that I haven't done before, and I get to go to a map, and I'm like, oh, what does this do? Then again, I'm playing a build that slightly cheats it, where I just put 2 totems and I stare at the boss, and I'm like, that's what it does. Yeah. Good thing I wasn't melee, or I would be smeared across the screen. But it's nice and refreshing for the new bosses, except pure boss can fuck off. And other than that, it's just more of the same.
Yeah, okay. I'm definitely enjoying the new tile sets as well. It is so refreshing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you don't enjoy the new scenery, the new venues.
I actually dislike the new tile sets because all the
tiles
break into 3. You have essentially the strand map, which is your straight line map. You have the area of effect map, or the area map, which is your arid lake style. You could compile that with like the primordial pool. You just have, actually I guess that's more of a strand. It's just an area map. And then you have still the cell style map, the jail style map, which is just fucked. And when I go through every map, I'm like, oh, it's this. There's 3 tile sets, and they're just reskinned. So I'm like, there's some truth to that. But I guess maybe we're just different then, because for me, just because they are reskinned
just because they look different. That is so refreshing to me. That just makes it so much cooler for me to get into. And I don't know what it is, but it just feels more engaging, more interesting.
Like the one they're doing a lot with levels, like getting up higher and higher, which I think is really cool. There's that one map that looks like the Aztec or the Mayan temple.
Yeah,
I think that one's really cool. And then there's one that you feel like you're on the Stranglethorn wall.
Yeah,
there's that map. I mean, it's definitely refreshing, especially for seeing the same map, same layout, same boss for so long.
It was I was getting so bored of mapping before, and I was always looking forward to getting to maps, but then I was just after 1 or 2 days, I was just like, oh, I've done this so many times now. And so because of this, like, I'm just so hyped for every new map tier and trying out, seeing what the new tile set is going to be. But I am, however, concerned, and this may be unwarranted, but I am a little concerned what happens if that is what you want to do, if you clear the entire Atlas map. How is it going to feel afterwards? Are you going to feel like, oh, I've just completed everything here, and what should I do now on my character? Of course, besides, at Siri, things like that. Is the mapping going to feel slower afterwards? What do you guys think?
I think maybe the challenge will become, all right, and how do I min-max tailor this so that it's absolutely efficient, Let me customize my Atlas whenever that comes around. That'll probably be something that people want to do, or maybe targeted farming for bases. That was mentioned before.
The thing is, respecking cost. If you're gonna try to craft your Atlas after you've completed the whole Atlas at the current sextant, is going to be a bitch.
Yeah.
Let alone not possible because the recipe's not in game.
Makes it harder.
So there's that. But how do you guys feel about the new boss mechanics? Like, we have the crit boss, where if you curse the boss, he explodes with the beastly projectile that goes like all over the screen. Like that. These are some things that we've never seen before.
There are some hilariously punishing ones for your first time. Like the old map style setup, the concern would be like an abnormally large area of effect. But for the most part, you could figure out a boss mechanic walking into them. You just didn't know if that boss would do a lot of damage or not. The new ones, Racecourse being a fun experience to people running into it blind, being like, oh, okay, it's fine. Oh, I'm dead. What happened?
Yeah.
I got super wrecked the first time I entered the Vol Ruins, or Vol. What is the new one? The tier 1, the tier 3? Vol Temple?
Yeah, Vol Temple.
Holy fuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got super smashed in there the first time.
Everyone was warning me about that one. They're like, oh my god, you're going to get wrecked. I'm like, okay, I'm prepared. I stand there. I'm like, they all die. I'm like, I missed something, guys.
Was that it? I think this is again where, when you play Softcore, you just go in there.
You didn't use a Stibnite flask, did you?
I use Stibnite flasks.
Oh.
Of course I do.
I don't know.
Of course I do. I'm playing Blade Vortex and doing Uberlap. I have to do that.
Fair enough.
It's one of the sickest defenses in the game.
Wouldn't you have had enough damage to just like instantly blow all of them up?
Well, at that time, I may have tried to go CI at 4,000 energy shield. And
that would
do may not have had my resistances and all that stuff up. They don't even deal elemental damage, do they?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Fizz Chaos.
Yeah, I think so as well.
How do you guys...
maybe a bit of fire on the titty bitch.
With regarding to map bosses and stuff, how do you guys feel that... I feel like they've overall changed the way we approach the boss, because there's a lot more rooms now. Like, everywhere, there's no, hey, surprise, this is a boss, You're like, oh, this must be the boss's room.
Yeah, it's typically at the end of the map or in a room.
Right, but do you like that change? I kind of like the surprise, the boss being out in the open. You don't know when you're going to get charged or when it's going to engage.
I like it.
Well, you still got Mud Geyser for that.
Yeah. I think I like it because for me it feels more epic this way. I feel like I'm entering a room and shit's about to get real. And of course, maybe it makes it a little easier because you know what to expect.
Yeah.
At least when you have done the map a few times. But the feeling is definitely more rewarding for me.
It does give you that opportunity to turn off the TV before you go in, which is very important.
That's true. That's true.
I would say, like, I like it. One of the things I felt was if you wanted to do more mechanical boss fights and more difficult boss fights, just randomly shoving them in a map becomes quite awkward.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did mention before that I would have preferred in this game was separating the bosses from the map. So I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
However, there is so many that have an arena. Like, I want to guess at least 75% of them have their own arena. That when they don't have an arena, it seems jarring and inconsistent. So it almost is kind of like all or nothing at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So then they did say that one of the things when they talked about the new map tile sets is that they're going to continue to improve the tile sets. They're not all reworked, as we can see, and I expect maybe some of those to change.
Yeah.
But not sure.
Have you guys noticed that the trash mobs in general have gotten harder? I feel I definitely, at least when early level mapping, when I didn't have the sick gear, I definitely felt that some of the monsters were hitting so much harder. I don't know. Have you guys experienced that?
No.
Only on my first death. I was like, what the hell? But other than that, I didn't.
Well, maybe.
I'm playing a build that avoids damage like a beast. So
you basically have two wooden dildos that tanks.
Yeah, I summoned wooden dildos. I've got armor, which is great on the low tier maps. So 7 endurance charges. It's like,
cast on clit wooden dildos. That's the new meta.
We should probably move on to the build of the week.
We can do that. After that, I want to talk about the Essence League breakdown in regards to Ascendancies. But we can start. We can head into build of the week.
Let's do the
here.
build of the week first, and then
all right,
we can transfer into that.
So let me open up the gameplay here. Build of the week, guys. First time we're doing it, and because of that, we would also appreciate some feedback afterwards on how you feel we can improve it or not. The thing is, we don't have access to the characters like GGG has, for instance. We can't transfer them to our account and then test them out. So because of that, we select some of the builds that we feel are interesting or could use some attention on the forums, and then we analyze the build guides. And the way we pick these is that we'll, for instance, take a skill that isn't very popular but still holds some potential, or something new, or something that's gimmicky. At least something we want to present that's interesting to you guys. And the first build we've chosen for this week's segment is, as you guys can see here, it is a Stormcall Inquisitor. And we've chosen Stormcall here because Stormcall is actually one of those skills that holds a lot of potential. But it isn't exactly meta for some reason. And the guide that we are presenting here is written by Hitmap47, and we have gotten his permission to show off his sick gameplay here. What you see here is him doing Uber at Siri, or completing an Uber at Siri run with the Stormcall build. And the strength of this build lies in how budget-friendly it is. Hitman himself expresses there is some things that can be improved upon the build, as with many, but the strength really is how budget is and how well it performs on that budget. So, PT, will you take it here? Take it from here.
Now, we're not going to go over everything about the build. Obviously, if you're not familiar with the Stormcall, we don't mind going through like the 6-link setup. The person is using the Stormcall linked with increased critical strike support, spell echo, faster casting, added lightning, and then finally he has the less duration. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at it, all his gems are 2020, so keep that in mind when you're seeing the capacity of the build.
And also, it should be mentioned that while it is very budget-friendly, a lot of the gear he's using here, I think he has a 6-link and he has some high-level gems and all that stuff. But it is the potential of the build on a budget that makes it interesting.
Well, we're showing off the higher end of it. You're not going to be like, oh, this is my 3 Chaos Uber at Siri build.
Yeah, exactly.
It starts strong. This is just a very far part of the build.
If you guys type BOTW in the chat, my bot will open it up as well. But I think Project just linked it, so that should work.
Sorry, what were you saying?
It is worth noting that what you're watching, the footage, is him doing Uber Utsuri, not regular Utsuri.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He also is using like the Orb of Storms power charge, or power charge on critical, fairly standard. He has that attached to a blind and a culling strike. So he's able to drop his Orb of Storms. He's not using it for the damage, getting extra lightning damage every cast. He's using it for the blind utility, the power charge utility, and the cult utility. Certain people do try to scale damage from the Orb of Storms, but if you can get your main skill to be strong enough, you might as well get as much utility as possible.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a Arctic Armor, Wrath, Clarity, and they're all attached to the Enlighten.
Mm-hmm.
And then, your classic Whirling Blades, Blood Magic, Fortify, Faster. Nothing too special on those. He has the Decoy Totem, and I vouch for the power of the Decoy Totem.
Decoy Totem is the strongest skill in the game. It really is. You can't kill anything with it. But
he is also using a link for the Val Lightning Trap, which is definitely specific to the doing Uber Utsuri. If he was doing general map clears, I'm pretty sure he's perfectly fucking fine shocking things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then finally, cast when damage taken, Immortal Call, and Warlord, so that he has access to the Leech. Mm-hmm. And that's the setup that he's using. It's not like super weird. It's pretty safe Stormcall stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep in mind, a lot of people underappreciate the amount of utility you can get from Stormcall. Or sorry, not Stormcall, Orb of Storms, by attaching it to some utility links.
I think that's such a cool setup here. Orb of Storms to generate your power charges and to add that blind. And as a calling, I think it's a really cool setup he's using here.
Oh, and he's not using the Divinaris dagger, FYI, just when you're looking at his radius. He does have the Carcass Jack, not the Divinaris.
He also doesn't use increased area of effect in his main skill gem, which is something you probably would do if you use it more for map clearing. I think Hitma is focusing on using it for killing bosses here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Which surprised me that he doesn't have the conk effect either. I'm assuming he would switch in the conk effect when actually doing the...
He does list or link a conk effect in his guide, so I would assume so. Hedgie, will you present the skill tree? Or some of the important choices?
Oh, yeah, just some of the notables is he has combined 159% life and 4 jewels, each with life on it. So I definitely give him props for making an effort to get life on every jewel. Mm-hmm. He gets a lot of crit on elemental damage, and he has some crit and crit multi on his jewels. But what I found interesting is that his mana reservation is very, very tight.
Yeah.
I was actually, the first thing that I looked for was the Helm enchant, and he opted to not get the reduced duration to Stormcall, which is what I thought he would want, but instead he went for the 10% reduction, mana reservation reduction for his Wrath. Mm-hmm. And if you can see on his skill tree, he picks up Sovereignty, and he has the Enlighten. Granted, the Enlighten is at level 2. It could be higher, but it's still within the reason of, definitely attainable. So I guess he made the decision that it is more valuable to run another buff, another aura, and I respect him for using AA. AA is very, very underrated in my opinion. And
it is possible he hasn't been able to acquire the Helm enchant though.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't ruling that out. I mean, he may just farm for it and he's not that lucky. Mm-hmm. But I definitely like the aggression, like the style of play he has. He has a dagger that has flat lightning, 1 to 111 or 115, something like that. Lightning damage to spells, and with Stormcall having an 80% damage effectiveness, and then he's running Wrath, and he has all these other things. I mean, it's an insane, disgusting amount of damage. His dagger is actually one of the best things on his character.
This is a damage build. This is definitely a damage build. This is what you want to do if you want to take down bosses while using Stormcall.
Right.
Hedgie, can you tell us a bit about his defenses?
Yeah, his defenses, he has Whirling Blades, Fortify. He uses Warlord's Mark whenever, is necessary. And he plays with that aggression. With Whirling Blades, he goes through the mob, chills it with Arctic Ground, and then he drops the Orb of Storms, which then potentially blinds. And he has Surgeon's Flask on everything. And he's an Inquisitor with 89% crit chance, 7 power charges. And if you don't know much about the Inquisitor, all you really need to know is that when you crit, the enemy monsters have 0 resistance. So it's like full pen. You don't need to use the pen gem, which
And that
frees
means
up.
you can use Call of the Brotherhood ring, converting your lightning to cold for just amazing effectiveness.
Exactly. You don't have any downsides when doing that.
And Call of the Brotherhood is another part of his defense because since he's able to get such high crits and high damage thresholds, he can afford to half of it or convert half of it to cold damage. And cold damage shatters, so you can't res it, you can't detonate it, and porcupines won't explode in your face when they shatter. So that is one of the defensive mechanics. He has a 15% evasion, 33% block. I think his shield is probably the number one slot that that has like big rooms for improvement defensively, but everything else he's picked really solid items to go well with
I was surprised at his choice of no unique flasks when like he's not even using a Vinctors, at least in the showcase. There's plenty of very strong unique flasks that give you a lot of stats, and he doesn't need them.
It would help with Reflect as well. One of the issues that the build has, as it is right now, is Reflect. And it is because of its very heavy damage. And this is something you'll have to take into consideration. There's a few ways of circumventing that or dealing with that. And one of the ways would be to equip a Saddle's Frame and use your Topaz Flask. And maybe instead of using the Arctic Armor, you could use Blasphemy, Warlord's Mark, so you have that leech and to mitigate some of it. But that's one of the issues when you play a Templar, right? Elemental Reflect is just so very dangerous. So
for the goal of boss killing, this does it, really well. You don't have to worry about Reflect other than the Atziri quad phase. So it's quite the effective boss farmer when you're doing very particular things. But as far as like being able to run every single map mod, there are definitely going to be limitations.
And what do you guys think? What if you wanted to add some uniques to that? What would you add?
Wrathpith looks sexy.
Wrathpith?
Like Wrathpith Rumi's combo is just in
strong.
General. I don't think I would use that if I was doing the Oberitsu, but if I was trying to do this for a general map clear, that's just such a great combo when you have access to the Alchemist Wheel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and while this is an armorless character, he doubles downs on the Fizz reduction flask. He gets 1 basalt and 1 granite.
Yes.
So
if you know how to use your flasks, that's very strong.
He's like basically a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 build. Pop all your flasks, kill everything, crit everything, refill your flask.
Make sure to evade shit. It's a skill based build in that sense.
The Dying Sun, I think, would be reasonable in the build.
Really?
Praise the sun.
You think so?
A little bit.
All right.
That herb effect.
We don't want to take up too much more time with it, guys. The intention of this was to showcase a potentially interesting build and inspire you guys with this. And we'll have many more interesting, hopefully at least in the future. If you guys have some feedback, let's have it. Not right now, but after the podcast.
So keep in mind that was done by Hitman47. We did ask him permission. Hitma, sorry. Yep. Hitma47. We did ask permission, as we stated earlier. If you do want your build showcased, the requirements that we are looking for are a build guide has to be written up. We need video footage as well. And obviously, the better the guide, the more likely we are to showcase it. And then just send a message to myself on Twitch or YouTube. Just piss me off, and we'll take a look at it.
But definitely, at least consider trying using Stormcall at some point in time. You don't have to follow this build.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a fun skill.
It's amazing right now. One thing I want to ask you guys now on the same note, guys, we need Flame Blast Totem build guides out there. We want to see that. We actually was thinking of talking about Flame Blast Totems as well. But there's definitely a lack of guides on the forums right now. And there is some awesome potential if you go Inquisitor, Hierophant, Elementalist, Assassin, or Chieftain. Or maybe even Slayer for some sick AoE or something like that. We want to see that. If you get one, if you find one, send us a link. And maybe if it's a well-written guide, maybe it might be featured at some point in time.
I think a lack of a guide is an understatement. There are no guides.
Yes.
we went through the forums and we couldn't find a single Flame Blast Totem guide for 2.4.0.
And we know that there are streamers playing this right now, but there's no written guide on the.
Yeah, there's no guide. So if you guys want some exposure, there you go.
Also, Project, you want to say something about the hideout of the week?
Yes, I thought we were going to do that then. We are interested in doing kind of a hideout of the week format. Now, this wouldn't be really discussed because, what are we going to talk about? Like, that tree needs some feng shui. But we would, how we have the video footage in the bottom right. If you have a hideout that you think is very interesting that you put time into, we're going to be willing to use it for footage in the corner, showcase. Obviously, all the information about the hideout can be presented. Once again, harass me, piss me off, send me a message. We'll get to it.
Just for the extra sexiness.
Exactly. And just it's fun community showcase. People who put the time into their hideout, I think they would enjoy showing it off.
Mm-hmm.
Before we jumped into the class distribution, though, did we want to do the straw poll?
We can do that.
I can link the straw poll.
Let me see if I can get the image up here. Guys,
all right.
We need you in chat right now to give us your vote. Should Essence stay after current leak? We're calling this segment Straw Poll of the Week. And every week on the podcast, we will be asking a question. We're posting it on Reddit as well. And some of the votes you've seen so far is Reddit votes. And PT has linked the straw poll in chat right now. Go ahead, send your vote. And in the meanwhile, Hedgie, you want to talk about some predictions? And then we'll talk about this.
I wanted to go around the table and predict, will Shaper be killed
in the first
hardcore within the first month? Yeah. All right, lifting, go.
So, are we talking from a month from now or since it started?
Since it started.
Yeah. Yes, I think so.
PT.
What do you think, PT?
No, I'm going to go that it will be. There's
always someone
dedicated. there is your super Asian.
Wow. Wow.
Hedgie, you have the advantage here.
Oh,
exactly, it's going to be Hedgie.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be me.
I think it's going to be done in a month.
I'm going to go with yes, and if there's anybody to do it, it's going to be either Rengarn or Uberdan. There'll probably be 2 kills in hardcore. And don't forget, tomorrow there's supposed to be a race to the first kill, so that might happen too. So
yeah.
By the way, we did some predictions before, and we brought up that we were going to be accountable for them. And so these are the scores. The first thing we talked about, or not the first, one of the predictions was if the fizz conversion was going to be a prefix or a suffix on the essence that gives you the cold to fizz. Now, we were all idiots, and there's the red blade helmet that told us the answer, but Lifting was the only one who got that right. So me and Hedgie done goofed pretty hard there.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm more cleverer than you guys.
When we were told about the map drop change, this was when Ziggy was with us, we asked if there was going to be a map drop nerf to coincide with it. And everybody thought the map drops would stay the same, and this was just going to be like on top of that. I was disagreed, so I was the only one who caught that one. So, yay, even though it was buffed a couple times since the start.
Yeah.
And then finally there was the sextants. We were concerned about a lack of use. We all predicted that the sextants weren't going to be, due to the lack of information, we're like, there's something going to be wrong with these and they're not going to be a huge thing. So we all got that one.
I think though, and I told you that when we discussed it, PT, as well, it's true that you're technically right about the map drops being nerfed in the patch notes. But overall, when you unlock everything,
that wasn't the question.
Okay.
That wasn't you trying to smuggle a point in there.
In practicality, it's a buff if you play the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did also talk about, and this one you guys have to, I haven't put who gets the points because we have to discuss it. We said whether or not essences would be a major form of the crafting, in which case Hegemony was worried that they would drop too little and it would all be still kind of like Chaos Alch. And me and Lifting were on the side of that, no, it's going to be essences. That's going to be the form. It's so much stronger.
I think it's a little too early for us.
Too early? We're going to wait on that one for points? Hedgie, I think, fine waiting?
I think it'll be very different in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we could wait. We could wait on
Okay,
that
all right. That one, we're still waiting on. But the score right now, 2 Lifting, 2 PT, 1 Hedgie. So he's got to step up his game. He's... But we're all for Shaper dying in 1 month. That's,
Yeah.
Well,
So-
okay. Well, let's ask this: will Shaper be killed tomorrow?
no.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
let's
no.
not have it as a prediction official, but I'm gonna go with a no there as well.
Okay,
So we're all the
I have absolutely no faith in Rise
Hedge was
Assist.
hoping for a different one, and nope.
shots.
Rise and have you ever seen those guys play? They die all the time.
Well, they have the capacity to do them, but the thing is, learning that fight is, there's a difference between being capable of the fight and your
Learning it.
Learning.
Yeah. FaceTime definitely helps. I mean, I tried it 3 times and I was drastically getting better and better each time and more consistent, but you don't get that chance in hardcore. You learn once and it's gone.
Yeah.
But
You
you
know,
could
it's over.
play it in standard, like Ziz has done the fight before.
Yeah. I mean, if
even with
somebody
the advantage.
can do it, they can do it. So it's a matter of practice, I guess, and having a good day.
Yeah. So then let's move into the class distribution, or the
You want to quickly talk about the straw poll here?
It just seems people like Essence.
Yeah, I agree. I like my essences. I wanted to stay in the game. We don't want to necessarily make this segment into a big discussion yet, because we need to know more about essences. But I think it's pretty interesting to see that so many actually do want to see it, and then there's 10% who doesn't absolutely give a fuck.
They're just
whatever.
like, content.
Yeah, concept. It only impacts my game severely, so who the fuck cares?
And just remember, this data set is not indicative of what an entire community, like, this is sampled through 2 sources.
This shows
It's shit
100%.
data. It's just for personal interests of anyone who wanted to vote.
It also shows what GGG wants to do.
Yep.
All
Reddit
right.
feedback for the
Let's
win.
talk a bit about the class distribution in Atlas here. Let me pull up. This is for Softcore, guys. So as you can see, this is the Ascendancy class distribution for Softcore Essence right now, and absolute number 1 is Pathfinder, and then I think Slayer is number 2 here, and is it what is the other one there? Number 3.
Necromancer?
Necromancer.
is number
yeah.
3, followed quickly by the Assassin.
What did you guys? Did you have? What do you think when you see this?
I think Ziggy D says things and things happen.
I think at
He has
least
more-
half of that is Siggy D. Yeah,
Yeah, he has a lot of influence.
Siggy D
That's
Ascendancy.
assuming. I mean,
It is-
poor Raider, man.
Yeah.
When has the Raider ever been super popular?
But I-
I agree. I think it was Mathel who said that the Raider is a bad Pathfinder.
yeah.
I think the Raider is underestimated. If you just want absolute clear speed, then the Raider is amazing, and if you have the gear to carry it.
But the Pathfinder's Quicksilvers can give you more movement speed than
Yes.
the Raider can, and the Quicksilver, like,
The problem I think
the
with
Raider
the Raider
needs
is
something really unique.
Yeah.
Not
the Raider is probably one of the most, and I mean no offense for it when I say this, but it's probably one of the most boring Ascendancy classes, because what the Raider does is just stat boost. Like, it has that unique thing with quartz and fading, but it's a boring Ascendancy class as well. You don't ever pick the Raider and think, oh, this is gonna be super fun because I can make something interesting around this, unless you specifically want to do something with frenzy charges. But
the
mean,
Juggernaut
or
was
facing, yeah.
the Juggernaut was a little bit originally like, okay, it did stats well, but it was and then they gave the endurance charge fiasco, which had to be nerfed, but it still has it, which is a chance of just going to max. It obviously is running around with frenzy charges, maybe with the one, and maybe it should just have something a little bit more.
And I guess also because, again, Onslaught is available for everything, right? And sure, the Raider has that more multiplier of evasion and a stronger Onslaught, but how much of a difference does it make when it comes to it?
But you can go from like 80% evasion to 84% invasion because
I still think it's an amazing. I think it can compete with the Deadeye for just, if we're talking pure clear speed for a regular type of bow build.
Chain and extra projectiles, that's tough to compete with.
Yeah, it's really
It's
tough.
sure, but it does add a lot of
And it has the more
attack
multiplier
speed,
with projectile
movement
distance,
speed.
which
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I think the extra evasion you can get is not to be underestimated. It may not be that much, but it does make a difference, especially for those type of builds that are in that part of the tree. Survivability is one of the things that start to make work.
Even then, though, if we ignore the Pathfinder, they're fairly evenly distributed, most of them being within 6% of each other. 6% is the difference between our Necromancer all the way down to, like, Hierophants. Everything but, like, 4 are picked in there.
Isn't Guardian the lowest?
It's well... Yeah, but Guardian is so specific to supports that it should never be a surprise. It's not about its power, it's about how many people play supports.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to take it?
I guess it's not as advantageous in softcore when, the defenses aren't as appreciated. But, I mean, on the side note, if we take the subclasses and we look at them and combine them with the class, the Scion is, like, in a horrible position, right? How many people are picking the Scion? Like, you add the Necro, Occultist, Elementalist, you get a very healthy number. You add any other of the 3 classes, and it's still decent. And then this Ascendant is like...
Yeah, but we all know the Ascendant sucks.
I don't think it sucks. Well, I really don't think it sucks. But it is very, very underrepresented, and for good reason. Because it is super niche.
You can say,
that's not the same thing.
The thing is, stats are comparative. And when you compare the Ascendancy to all your other options, the Ascendant comes lacking.
That doesn't make sense, because if the amount of how much it was played, then would it be indicative of the Guardian sucking as well? And so it's not the same thing.
Well, it's a factor. The Pathfinder isn't played so much because the Pathfinder sucks. It is a factor.
Sure, but how popular an Ascendancy class is has nothing to do with its powers. The Scion has some really niche uses. I agree that it's very, very niche, and it's harder to make work. You can do some interesting, Righteous Fire builds, for instance, combining the Trickster. I'm not saying it's the best, but I think it's... Some people are painting it a little too black and white, saying the Ascendant sucks.
For, like, if we're going to ignore choosing an Ascendancy by looks, you're choosing something by where you start on the passive tree and then the stats that it gives you. And the Ascendant, like the Raider, both have the problem that they don't truly give you a unique stat. And by not truly giving you a unique stat, when you compare them, it's just like, yes, you could play the Ascendancy, the Ascendant, but if you are trying to push yourself, you probably shouldn't. Now, I think there's an argument for a very specific support as the Ascendancy because of how it branches through the tree. But when you compare it to the other ones...
I agree, and I would rarely pick it. I just don't want it to sound like that just because something is not popular. That has something to do with its powers.
But it's definitely reason. Glacial Hammer is not being played because of its power. Like, you can't say that Glacial Hammer isn't being played because it's amazing hidden potential and people just don't like Glacial Hammer. It's because Glacial Hammer sucks.
I think, in my opinion, just hear me out on this one, I feel like this speaks more of the meta. People really value these niche capabilities that each Ascendancy can offer, and the Scion kind of lacks that. She's like the jack of all trades, which doesn't really make her stand out or special or build enabling. People tend to side with, let me just go with the stronger version of this niche, right? And maybe what it's going to take is something to be so stretched out that you can get some unique pathing with getting multiple keystones that no other class can get. Then I could see people having like a clear-cut reason to go Scion. But with the current state of the tree, there's not really any of that. I mean, people can chop off 3 or 4 skill points, but at the end of the day, is that worth it? Does that really mean anything to you?
Unfortunately, pathing out of the Scion wastes your 3 points.
Yeah.
That's
the thing.
Another thing to consider. So I think in order to make the Scion unique, we need a little, I don't know.
It needs unique stats. If it's in a position where
I
it
agree with
offers stats that are stronger than the subclasses we run into when everyone was playing the Scion because of the very powerful leech, and then alongside the crit. When the Scion is just offers weaker stats, then she's going to be a more unpopular one. The Scion needs to give us a unique stat at the very least.
The Scion is just always in either this position of being super overrepresented, or super underrepresented.
She has a shit design.
I think GGG hates themselves for creating the Scion. I really think that sometimes they're thinking, "Fuck, why did we create this?"
I can agree with that. Do you want to go to the hardcore distribution?
Yeah, let's do that.
Enough
about the Scion. Let's see here. Hardcore distribution. Here we have it. Now this is a little more different. A lot of necromancers, most likely SRS builds. Lots of pathfinders, of course, and a lot of juggernauts, which makes sense because the juggernaut is, of course, still really, really powerful. It that change to the endurance charges was a nerf, but it really doesn't change too much.
Something we should have prefaced at the beginning, that this is representation based off of the top 2,000 characters of each league. So it's not the entire population. No, it's 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah, 2,000 characters. So these characters have had some development and some success. They're not just like people that made a character, got normal ascendancy, and quit. So that's something that we should have pointed out. Yeah.
In hardcore, there's obviously some favorites, but it's a really nice distribution overall.
Yeah, I think the distribution is wonderful, and again, we're seeing some similarities. Raider and Ascendant,
Raider, Guardian.
Yeah.
The Gladiator is more popular because it obviously offers defense. The Berserker is significantly less popular for fairly obvious reasons. People don't want to take more damage. I'm surprised Trappers, especially in hardcore, it's not that popular when Trappers are so powerful.
Well, I don't think everyone necessarily plays a Saboteur when they play a Trapper.
Steel Mage, the number one guy, is playing Kinetic Blast Mines. Like, that's super edgy, and he's doing really well with it. I mean...
and I think...
What's his Ascendancy again?
Saboteur.
Oh, I was curious because a lot of Trappers do go into the Trickster and the Occultist just because of maximum energy shield.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I've never played the Saboteur myself, actually.
The last time we've seen like really significant representation was when they released the Ice Trap gem. After that, like it looks like it's been kind of in the back seat.
To be fair, that's also when Ziggy would have played Ice Trap, and you know what happens whenever he plays something.
With that said, guys, I'm actually curious to hear, when do you think GGG should optimally release their new skills? What would be a good time?
I mean, if we're talking hypothetically, it's ready now.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Let's say personally, they were ready.
I think a 1 month time period is a good time because it gets time for the league to settle, people to figure out shit, and then people are like, oh, I'm looking for the next thing to do. And I feel like after 1 month, a lot of people are going to have a lot of the challenges they want, and they're going to want something to revitalize their passion for PoE. So I think 1 month would be a good period. What do you guys think?
2 weeks from now is when I was leaning, which is a little bit earlier, but not significantly earlier.
I think we have all experienced what happens after about a month, three weeks to a month, maybe 5 weeks. There's a significant player drop-off at that time, and there will still be a drop-off, even if they release the skills, of course. But I definitely I would love to see that as well.
I'm just worried that they're going to be the overbuffed because it's new and they want to get people to play things again, and we're going to see some really bullshitty channel skills.
But I would so much more appreciate they were too powerful rather than too weak, and they release something that is just not fun to play because you can't make it work properly.
Like half the damage of Lightning Tendrils full channel, like, I'll get you eventually.
Yes, exactly. And,
I was planning on playing Incinerate with the Dying Sun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can...
I didn't even think about that.
Man, that would be hilarious. Could you, the new ring, by the way, it adds projectiles, but was it only for cold skills?
No, it is projectiles for spells.
Okay, so it works with Incinerate as well.
Yeah, and that's very interesting when you think about Freeze Pulse. Somebody can just get Freeze Pulse, one of those rings, Dying Sun. He's at 4 projectiles.
Yeah,
5 if he gets fast. There's some interesting things, and that ring is nice. I think that ring is maybe a tad too powerful. My concern is always giving extra projectiles, is then you have to balance around that.
Yes.
So
But does some skills need it? That's the
and
thing.
I think that should be addressed in the base skill, not in a unique.
True, yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, guys, we're nearing the end. Do you have anything else you want to say here before I outro it out?
Hedgie, anything to say quickly?
No, but it looks like next week we have a surprise. I'll let Lifting Nerd Bro tell you guys about that.
It's not a surprise.
Right.
I was gonna spoil it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna do it now.
Oh no,
guys, we're having Chris on next week.
Next week, Chris Wilson.
Yeah.
We managed to convince him to have a conversation with me and Hedgie and Lifting Nerd Bro. I don't think that was a huge concern. They've chatted with him. They're friendly people.
He actually agreed to talk to PT.
Yes. Which, before
we swear we haven't trapped him.
That they have the balls to deal with my shit.
as much as it is going to be, right? So next Sunday, guys, we will have Chris on the podcast, and we'll talk about anything Atlas development, and we're of course really looking forward to that. We have a lot of planned questions already that we will be asking him, and we will prepare very well for that so we can ask the good questions.
Keep in mind, we are always on a time limit. So there are tons of questions that all of us want to ask. There's a ton of things in many, many different spectrums that we want to ask, but we do have to keep it relatively concise because we would prefer to have a more thorough conversation about a few topics, actually asking follow-up questions, making sure we can get more meaningful answers and all that, instead of kind of rushing through a list of questions to get all of it done, getting some interesting insight overall, but not as much meat as we'd want. I think that's...
While, of course, not overstepping our boundaries as well. We're very grateful that Chris want to, join up and visit us here. So if you guys are interested in that, give the channel a follow. It happens next Sunday on this channel at the same time we started today. And also, if you didn't catch the podcast today, the full podcast, you can watch that on Hegemony's YouTube. Happy Sunday, guys. And take care.
See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.